Okay, welcome. Now, I don't know if the message got out, but if you have a chance, find a piece of paper. This is for the end of the message. Find a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and I will have you do something at the end of the message. So if you are ready, that'd be great. Okay, happy Father's Day. And this is also the beginning of a period of stewardship messages for our church. So, first of all, how many of you have heard the expression, I'd give my right arm, or I'd give my right hand to have that? Just for a visual check, raise your right hand if you are familiar with that phrase. Okay, raise your hand if you've heard of that. Maybe some people haven't, but it's a common phrase in English. And how many of you have ever read the Bible verse from Matthew 6:3, where during the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, "But when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." Another show of hands. Who has read that verse? Okay. So you may be wondering why the emphasis on hands this Sunday. I'm supposed to be giving a sermon focusing on Father's Day with a special emphasis on stewardship, which is an important topic, especially for our small but mighty church. I hope that all will be made clear during my message. So, I'd give my right arm was an expression that my wonderful father, John Gilmore, would say with a twinkle in his eye and a laugh at the ready. He was a practical joker and had a quirky sense of humor. What he didn't have was a right hand. After an unfortunate and life-threatening accident while he was in the army stationed in Korea, my father at age 18 had to have his right hand and part of his lower arm amputated. You might say that he gave his arm while in the army. Badoomch. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize if this talk is sprinkled with jokes about such a morbid subject as an amputation, but I inherited this sense of humor from my dad. You might say that it was handed down to me. My father joked about his disability with the warmth and ease of someone who had weathered tragedy and had come out on the other side of the darkness, knowing that the light and love of God is always triumphant in the end. My dad, John Gilmore, passed into that triumphant light on January 5th, 2016, and his funeral was held on February 13th in Issaquah, Washington, which is where my mother still lives. Hi, Mom. She is now 93 years old, and I will be going to visit her next week. You might think that missing a right hand would have severely impaired my dad's ability to help others or to lend a hand, as the expression goes. And it's true that he couldn't fix a car or be a handyman around the house, but he could do lots of other things. Tie his own shoes and single-handedly change a diaper, a cloth diaper with pins at that. They were more difficult to handle back then. He also gave excellent hugs. And although he couldn't applaud at a concert, he received applause at many concerts for his ability to play the viola with only one hand. He managed this by tightening the bow on his right stump and fingering the strings with his left hand. And he performed at concerts with the Sammamish Symphony Orchestra in Washington. This was after he had retired from his work as a counselor and juvenile court chaplain in Minnesota. And he and my mom had moved to Providence Point in Issaquah, right next to the Lutheran Bible Institute, where both Joel and I attended in the early 1980s. My dad was always willing to lend a helping hand. Both he and my mom volunteered at LBI. My mom was the campus nurse, and my dad taught classes and led Bible studies. In fact, Pastor Topo of Mitaka Lutheran Church remembers my dad from when he attended LBI in 1987 or 1998, or I think it was around that time, and 99. And after retirement, my mom and dad continued to give of their time and talents. During the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus talked about acts of charity and about the left hand not knowing what the right hand was doing, Jesus was using hyperbole for emphasis. The meaning of this expression was that when you give to a charitable cause or when you lend a hand to help others, even within your own consciousness, you should not be drawing attention to your own good deed. In my dad's case, the left hand honestly did not know what his right hand was doing. The right hand was not there. It was gone. Possibly it had gone to heaven in advance of my dad's arrival. But because my dad was not focused on his disability or what he could not do, and was instead focused on helping others and what he could do, I myself did not realize that he was missing his hand until I was in second grade. And I remember the exact moment when it dawned on me that his right hand was missing. So it was one of the first days at a new school in Minnesota, Snail Lake Elementary. My dad had just driven me there in the morning in a stick shift car, which he managed quite handily with one hand. He parked the car, walked me up to the sidewalk in front, and we said our goodbyes. And I was focused on the new school and wondering about new teachers and friends. But soon after he had left, another kid about my age ran up to me, breathless and excited, and asked me, "What happened to your dad's hand?" And I panicked, thinking that something bad had just happened. And I said, "What do you mean? Was there an accident? Did he hurt his hand? Is he okay?" And my new classmate looked at me quizzically and said, "You know your dad doesn't have a hand, right?" And I thought about it for a while, and till I managed to see the situation from their perspective. To me, it was no big deal, but I did think it was strange. I hadn't noticed it till then. When we love someone, we do not see the things that are lacking. We see the many ways that they have been blessed by God. So let's read from Matthew again, a portion of the Sermon on the Mount from chapter 6. And here it is in the Living Bible version. "Take care. Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired, for then you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven. When you give a gift to a beggar, don't shout about it as the hypocrites do, blowing trumpets in the synagogues and streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I tell you in all earnestness, they have received all the reward they will ever get. But when you do a kindness to someone, do it secretly. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And your Father, who knows all secrets, will reward you." My father and my mother also extended a helping hand to many people. So many acts of kindness that it would take a lifetime just to write them down. They weren't perfect, of course, no one is, but the acts of charity and the acts of kindness came from a heart that loves God. That should be our motivation for giving of our money and our time and our talents. Each one of us cannot give in the same way that someone else can. We all have our limitations and weaknesses, but we also have God-given benefits and strengths, And when we respond generously to the needs of those around us with what we do have, and if we respond in love to the needs of this hurting and hungry world, we are being the hands of God. We are showing the love of God and becoming the love of God. This is the way that we can be good stewards or caretakers for the gifts that our Father in heaven has given us. Later on in chapter 6 of Matthew, Jesus continues to talk about stewardship. Here is Matthew 6:19 through 24. Don't store up treasures here on earth, where they can erode away or may be stolen. Store them in heaven, where they will never lose their value and are safe from thieves. If your profits are in heaven, your heart will be there too. If your eye is pure, there will be sunshine in your soul. But if your eye is clouded with evil thoughts and desires, you are in deep spiritual darkness. And oh, how deep that darkness can be. You cannot serve two masters, God and money, for you will hate one and love the other. Some people think that the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. That is not what it says. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, it says, "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil." And some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. The Bible says that it is the love of money that is the evil root, not money itself. We cannot be healthy in this life if we are serving money above God. But that is true of other things as well. We might be tempted to love our own family above God, or our career, or our health, or our social media standing above God. Any of those things can become a hurtful root in our lives. You cannot serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. Stewardship starts with having the heart of God. It starts with love for God. It extends to having love for yourself, for the amazing person that you are, and it flows out to those around you, those frustrating and needy persons who are also made by God and loved by God. When we allow God's heart to live inside us, we see others as God sees them, the whole person who deserves to be loved. As the last part of my message, I want to play for you one of my father's favorite songs. We sang this at his funeral. From the title, knowing a bit about my dad's sense of humor, I think you might understand why he liked this song and why he played it in church, one-handed on his viola. When I hear this song now, it always makes me smile, even while it also brings tears to my eyes. Some of you might know this song, written by Tommy Dorsey in 1932. The title is "Precious Lord, Take My Hand." Before I start playing this version of the song, take a piece of paper and write in big letters at the top, "Thanksgiving." Leave a space between the thanks and the giving. And while you listen to the song, see if you can write down things that you are thankful for under the word thanks. And for every thankful thing next to it, write down ways in which you do give back or can give back under the word giving. Thanksgiving. I have one last story to tell about my dad and the one small way that he helped to make my childhood a happy one. We had a sort of silly ritual that we did at bedtime when sometimes I would delight in the visit of Birdie. After I'd snuggled down in my bed, I would hear a low chirping sound outside my door. Like that. "Come in, Birdie," I would call. And my dad would come flying his left hand like a bird and hover until it opened, until I opened my hand right underneath. And then he would drop in a little bedtime snack from his big hand to my little hand. Sometimes it was a clutch of sunflower seeds or a few peanuts or some raisins, and I would give Birdie a kiss and a thank you, and Papa Birdie would fly out the door, and I would drift off to sleep. Sometimes the verse from Psalm 145, verse 16, would run through my head. You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing. Okay, so let us respond to God with thanks and with giving as we listen to one of my father's favorite hymns, Precious Lord.